Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have major breaking news. District Attorney Fani Willis was just disqualified from the Trump case, okay? A Georgia appeals court officially disqualifies Fani Willis from this Trump case. We're gonna get into the latest. Before we dive in, please thumbs up the video. Double check that you're subscribed because this is my new channel that I'm now posting on. So make sure you have that subscribe button on, the alerts on, comment below. Let's dive in.
A Georgia Court of Appeals has disqualified the Fulton County DA Fani Willis from that election interference case that's coming down right now. The case against Trump and more than a dozen others already largely stalled, as you know. The new ruling means that it will be up to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council in the state of Georgia to find another prosecutor to decide on the case.
Damn, Fani Willis is gone, guys. Holy moly. This is not the end for Fani Willis though, because there's gonna be some major repercussions on this. She could get disbarred as well.
To take it over and make a decision as to whether or not they continue with a prosecution of the incoming president.
And former Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo is here. John, does this mean that this is yet another one of the cases against Trump that could go away before he's president?
It's another example, Dana, of this lawfare campaign that was waged by Democrats, boomeranging back on them and falling all around their ears. Anyone who watched this trial, remember, this is the DA who claimed that the entire Trump reelection campaign was something like an organized crime racket that was intending to deprive everyone of our civil rights to vote. But remember, we saw the dramatic testimony over the summer of how DA Fani Willis had hired her boyfriend, essentially, to be the special counsel, overpaid him, and then had him investigate and bring charges against Donald Trump. It's a complete conflict of interest. And if you take a quick look at the Georgia appeals court decision here, that's what it says. There's such an appearance of impropriety, an appearance of a conflict of interest that Fani Willis should not be the prosecutor. I think this spells yet another case that's going to have to either be suspended or more likely just ended and tossed out. It's hard for me to see another Georgia district attorney wanting to take up this flawed case and try to prosecute Trump on these theories that his reelection campaign was some kind of criminal organized crime enterprise.
Yeah, after this, I mean, they would have to bring in someone else, and it's just not a good look. Trump already won in a huge landslide. People want Trump. Why would you want to go up and spend your life, going after this man who the American public truly voted for, truly want? But remember, Fani Willis, she was the woman who brought in all of those people to get their mugshots taken. Trump's mugshot, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows. There was a lot of mugshots taken, And for Fani Willis now to get thrown out, I mean, those mugshots had huge repercussions on those people's lives, right?
A couple things here. There are 14 others that face charges. I don't know what happens to them, but she can appeal to the state Supreme Court in Georgia. But given what the Supreme Court said in Washington about immunity, I mean, does the state Supreme Court even take her case in Georgia?
No.
It's a good question, Bill. I think what's going to happen here, along the lines of possible appeals and so on, is it looks likely, because of that presidential immunity decision by the Supreme Court, that any kind of state prosecution of President Trump would have to be at least suspended, if not dropped. You're seeing that going on, those arguments going on right now up in New York City with the case being heard by Judge Marchan. So even if they could get past immunity, they'd still have to suspend it while President Trump was in office. But furthermore, you'd have to go back and then scrub the whole indictment, scrub everything the grand jury did, and say you've got to eliminate anything that used official actions by President Trump, any evidence that came in from White House officials, from anything the president was doing in the Oval Office. They might actually fatally handicap this prosecution and require the whole thing to be dismissed.
I hope the whole thing gets dismissed. Absolutely crazy.
It's interesting, too, because she had this novel way of trying to get at him through RICO. Was that a mistake as well? In addition to her personal behavior, obviously, is what they're saying here. But in a way, it was this like novel idea, like, how can I be the one to take Trump down? That's for, like, politically, she wanted that reputation.
Yeah. Dana, you and I remember we're Justice Department alums. Yeah, I remember you when you were there and I was there and we were, there after the days of 9/11. And you can use this kind of statute, RICO, to try to go after real organized crime, drug cartels, mafia organizations. DA Fani Willis introduced, I think, a really dangerous theory was that we could use these powerful tools that are used for terrorists and drug cartels and apply them to political campaigns, and not just any political campaign, but the campaign by the leading opposition candidate at that time, Donald Trump, the head of one of the two major parties in the country. I think ultimately the whole thing would have been tossed out because it violated the free speech rights of Donald Trump, the free speech rights of the Republican Party, and actually a lot of Americans who supported him. So I think in the end, this whole thing was going to come crashing down around Fani Willis's and the Democratic Party's ears. Anyway.
Well, it seemed complicated from the beginning. There is that case here in New York that's still out there, the 34 counts in Judge Marchan's courtroom. He made a ruling about a week ago that the conviction still stands, but the penalty will be judged at a later date. John, do you think that later date ever happens now?
I think this is Judge Marchan really still trying to go after Donald Trump. Think about it. If you look, Bill, you mentioned the presidential immunity case. There's a footnote, a really important footnote in that opinion that says states, even if they're prosecuting a president for private acts, can't use evidence from the presidency. They can't use what Donald Trump said in the Oval Office. They can't use what White House officials said. Nevertheless, Judge Marchan went ahead and held a trial and introduced that kind of evidence. He should, at the very least, order a new trial, if not force the DA to go back to it. But what Marchan is doing, which I think is still dangerous, is he's dangling these charges still, the sentencing, over the head of Donald Trump and saying, well, I can't sentence you now. Maybe I won't. He still probably could. He could try to get him before the inauguration, but he shouldn't. But he's going to say, I'm going to dangle that over your head for the next 4 years, and I'm going to be waiting for you when your presidency is over.
Well, you have to think he's doing the work of Alvin Bragg, right, Dana? At the moment. I mean, he works for the DA, right, John?
I don't know.
So crazy. It's so crazy. It's all going down though, guys. Here's a flashback moment. Trump roasting Fani Willis. Let's tune in.
I was indicted by Fani in Georgia. Fani. How did that work out? And her lover, Nathan Wade. And they hired him for almost $1 million because of his great experience. Of course, he didn't have any experience. He had experience in something else. You know that.
Yeah, I think Nathan Wade cheated on his wife with Fani.
And at that, I'm quite sure he was very good based on the fact that she called him 2,000 times. I didn't know the gentleman. I didn't know him. Oh, you have 2,000 phone calls, 3,500 text messages. How is it possible in a short... I know a lot of people. We like a lot of people. I happen to have a very good relationship with a woman called Melania.
Our future First Lady in about 1 month and 1 day.
But I would venture to say in all the years that I've known her, I might not have called her 2,500 times. I know I didn't send 3,500 text messages.
Yeah, also because Trump and Melania live together. They're not doing things behind other people's backs. That's when you gotta make so many freaking phone calls. So anyways, guys, big update today with District Attorney Fani Willis. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think this is the end of Fani, or do you think they're gonna go after her now even more? Comment your thoughts down below.